Dren's forearms moved across the control panel with practiced ease. His salvage ship, Prophet's Edge, drifted closer to the massive warship that floated dead in space. The vessel belonged to the Korvath Empire, or at least it used to. Nobody had seen a Korvath ship in 3 cycles. The entire empire had vanished without explanation. "Are we really doing this?" Yora asked from her station. The Drell warrior's scales shifted to a nervous gray color. "That's a Korvath warship. There's a reason nobody else has touched it." Dren's eye stalks swiveled toward her. "That's exactly why we're doing this. Everyone else is too scared. We'll strip it clean and retire rich." Pell, the medical officer, hummed softly from her corner. The Rialan's empathic abilities made her valuable for detecting danger, but right now she seemed calm. "I sense no life aboard. The ship feels empty." "Empty means safe," Dren said. He pressed the docking command. Metal groaned as the 2 ships connected. "Hask, you're with me. Yora, Pell, stay alert. Tav, monitor systems." The insectoid Hask clicked his mandibles in agreement. His species lived for danger. Together they entered the airlock and crossed into the Korvath vessel. The interior lights flickered weakly. "Emergency power only." Dren swept his scanner across the corridor. The readings showed atmosphere, gravity, but no movement. "Ship's intact, no damage." They just left. Hask's compound eyes reflected the dim light. "Korvath don't abandon ships. They die with them." "This is wrong." They moved deeper into the warship. Every door opened easily. Every room sat empty. In the command center, screen still displayed data in Korvath script. Dren couldn't read most of it, but his translator caught fragments. "Retreat protocols. Emergency evacuation." One phrase repeated across multiple screens. "Fall back from the deathworld." "Deathworld?" Hask muttered. The Korvath feared nothing. Dren recorded everything with his scanner. This information alone would be worth a fortune. They continued exploring, moving down to the lower decks. That's when they found the brig. The prison section had power. Full power. Red warning lights pulsed along the walls. Dren's translator struggled with the Korvath text on the main door, then displayed, "Maximum security. Extreme hazard. Do not engage." "Now this is interesting," Dren said. His greed overcame his caution. "What were they keeping down here?" They entered carefully. The brig had 20 cells. 19 stood open and empty. The 20th blazed with warning lights and containment fields that hummed with energy. Dren approached it slowly. Inside the cell sat a female figure. She was bipedal, with brown skin and dark hair matted with dirt. Her species was unfamiliar. She wore torn gray clothing that might have been a uniform once. Heavy restraints covered her wrists, ankles, and neck, the kind of restraints meant for creatures that could tear through metal. But she looked small, weak. Her eyes tracked their movement with sharp intelligence, but she didn't speak. She just watched. "What is she?" Hask asked. Dren pointed his scanner at her. The device hummed, processing. Then it displayed information that made no sense. "Species, Earthborn. Name Maria Torres. Designation unknown. Earthborn." Dren repeated. "Never heard of it." "Check the Galactic database." Hask's claws tapped at his portable terminal. After a moment, he shook his head. "Nothing. No records of this species. No planet called Earth in any database." Dren studied the prisoner more carefully. She had 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. Standard bilateral symmetry. But those eyes held something that made him uncomfortable. "A predator's patience. Call Pell down here," Dren ordered. Minutes later, the empath arrived. She approached the cell slowly, her sensitive skin rippling with concentration.
"She's exhausted, hungry, but not hostile toward us."
"She's more curious than anything. Can you sense what she is?" Dren asked. Pell tilted her head. "Something familiar but wrong." "She feels like a Drell warrior, like Yora, but more so. Compressed violence waiting for purpose," the prisoner spoke then. Her voice was rough from disuse, but the translator caught her words. "How long?" Everyone jumped. Dren recovered first. "How long what?" "How long has this ship been drifting?" The female's dark eyes fixed on him. "How long since the Korvath left?" 3 cycles, Dren answered carefully. "You've been here 3 cycles?" She closed her eyes briefly. Something like pain crossed her face. Then it vanished, replaced by that calculating stare. What happened to them? The Korvath? Nobody knows. The Empire vanished. Just gone. The prisoner nodded slowly, as if this made sense. They ran. Smart of them. Hask stepped forward, mandibles clicking aggressively. "You speak as if you defeated the Korvath. Impossible." They conquered entire sectors. Not my sector, she said simply. Dren's interest peaked. An unknown species that fought the Korvath. The value of this information multiplied in his mind. What's your name? You scanned me. You know my name. Maria Torres, Dren read from his device.
What are you?
Human from Earth. She said it like it should be obvious. Where is Earth? Maria's expression hardened. You don't have records of it? Nothing. No planet, no species, no references. She processed this information with visible concern. Then they did it. They erased us from your databases. She looked directly at Dren. I'm a combat pilot. I was captured during the war with the Korvath. They kept me here to study how humans fight, to understand why they couldn't beat us. Yora's voice crackled over the communicator. Captain, you need to see this. Tav found logs from the ship's computer. They're corrupted, but some files survived. Send them to my scanner, Dren ordered. Data flooded his device. Most of it was unreadable, destroyed by some kind of purge, but fragments remained. Battle reports. Casualty numbers that seemed impossible. References to the Earth campaign and human defensive tactics. One log entry caught his attention. It was a personal recording from a Korvath commander. The audio was distorted, but the fear in the voice was unmistakable. They don't stop. We broke their ships and they used escape pods as weapons. We destroyed their cities and they fought from the ruins. We killed their warriors and civilians took their place. They don't stop. Even when beaten, they don't stop. Recommend full retreat from... The file ended there. Dren looked back at Maria. She sat calmly in her cell, watching him with those patient predator eyes. Suddenly, the restraints made sense. The maximum security made sense. The warning labels made sense. The Korvath hadn't imprisoned her because she was dangerous to them. They imprisoned her because she represented something more terrifying. An entire species that the mighty Korvath Empire feared enough to run from. Bring her to our ship, Dren ordered. Carefully. Captain, Yora protested. She's worth more than this entire warship. An unknown species that defeated the Korvath? Every government in the galaxy will pay fortunes for this information. Maria spoke again, her voice soft but clear. I won't hurt you. Not unless you give me reason to. It wasn't a threat. It was a simple statement of fact. Somehow that made it worse. They released the restraints and escorted her to Prophet's Edge. She moved stiffly, muscles weak from cycles of captivity, but with undeniable grace. Once aboard, they placed her in their medical bay within a force field cell. Dren watched her through the transparent barrier. She sat on the bench, finally allowing exhaustion to show on her face. But those eyes never stopped calculating, never stopped planning. Hask approached him quietly. What have we brought aboard, Captain? Dren didn't have an answer. But he knew one thing. They'd found something far more valuable and far more dangerous than simple salvage. They'd found a human. Maria studied the force field that kept her contained. The blue energy barrier hummed softly and she knew better than to test it. She had spent 3 cycles in worse conditions. This medical bay was almost comfortable compared to Korvath imprisonment. At least she could stretch her legs. At least there was food, even if it tasted strange to her human palate. The crew of Prophet's Edge watched her like she might explode at any moment. She couldn't blame them. The Korvath had clearly marked her as extremely dangerous. But right now she was just tired. Tired of being a prisoner, tired of being alone, tired of not knowing if Earth still existed. The door opened and Dren entered with Pel beside him. The empathic Rialan approached the force field slowly, her skin displaying calming blue patterns. Maria appreciated the gesture even if she didn't fully trust it. You've been quiet, Dren said. His eye stalks focused on her with uncomfortable intensity. We have questions. I assumed you would, Maria replied. She sat up straighter, forcing her weakened body to cooperate. What do you want to know? Start with Earth. Where is it? Maria gestured vaguely. Sector 447 in your navigation system. Or it was. If you're telling the truth about no records, someone deleted it. She paused. What year is it by your calendar? Dren told her. Maria calculated quickly in her head, converting to Earth years. 5 years since first contact. 5 years since the Korvath came to conquer humanity. She had been a prisoner for 3 of those years. When I was captured, Maria began, Earth was winning the war. The Korvath came expecting easy prey. They found something else. Yora entered the medical bay, her scales still nervous gray. The Korvath conquered hundreds of worlds. How could one unknown planet defeat them? Maria smiled, but there was no humor in it. We didn't defeat them. We destroyed them. There's a difference. Pel's empathic sensors rippled with concern. She felt the truth in Maria's words, but also the trauma behind them. Tell us what happened. From the beginning, so Maria told them. She described Earth as it was 5 years ago. A world of 8 billion humans divided into hundreds of nations. They had just developed faster-than-light travel. They were exploring their local space cautiously, excited to find alien life. Then the Korvath arrived. 300 warships appeared in Earth orbit. They demanded immediate surrender. Earth's fragmented nations tried diplomacy first. The Korvath responded by destroying Rio de Janeiro as a demonstration of power. 2 million humans died in seconds. That was their mistake, Maria said quietly. They thought killing millions would break us. Instead, it unified us overnight. Every nation, every faction, every competing government suddenly had one goal: survival. She described the war that followed. Humanity had inferior technology but adapted quickly. They studied destroyed Korvath ships and reverse-engineered everything they could. Human scientists worked without sleep, pushing boundaries that would have taken decades in peacetime. But technology alone didn't win the war. Human tactics did. Maria explained concepts that made the alien crew visibly uncomfortable. Totalva, scorched earth. Mutually assured destruction. Humans didn't fight to win territory. They fought to destroy the enemy's ability to fight back. We used everything, Maria continued. Nuclear weapons, biological agents, cyber warfare. We hacked their ships and turned their weapons against them. We sent unmanned vessels packed with explosives on suicide runs. When they destroyed our orbital platforms, we fought from the ground. When they bombed our cities, we fought from the ruins. Haas clicked his mandibles nervously. This is not honorable combat. No, Maria agreed. It's survival. Honor doesn't matter when extinction is the alternative. She told them about the Battle of Mars orbit where she had fought. Human pilots were outnumbered 10-1, but they used the moon's gravity wells and asteroid fields to their advantage. They accepted casualty rates that would have broken any other military force. 70% of human fighters were destroyed, but they took down 80% of the Korvath fleet. That's when Maria's fighter was disabled. The Korvath captured her alive, curious about human psychology. They wanted to understand how a species could be so relentless, so willing to sacrifice everything. They kept asking me the same question, Maria said. Why don't you surrender? Why don't you accept your fate? She looked at each crew member in turn. I told them the truth. Because we're human. We don't know how to quit, Pel spoke softly. You're telling the truth. I can feel it. But I also feel great pain. What they did to you in captivity doesn't matter now, Maria interrupted firmly. What matters is what happened after my capture. Did Earth survive? Did we win? Dren manipulated his scanner, pulling up the corrupted Korvath files. According to these logs, the war continued for 2 more Earth years. The Korvath threw everything at your world. They called in reinforcements from across their empire. He paused, and then they retreated. Complete withdrawal. The logs say your species tracked them back to their home systems and threatened total annihilation. Maria closed her eyes and breathed deeply. Earth survived. Humanity survived. The relief was overwhelming. The Korvath home systems are on the other side of the galaxy, Yora said. How did your species chase them that far in 2 years? We're very motivated, Maria answered simply, and we learned from everything we captured. The Korvath gave us advanced technology by attacking us. We just used it better than they did. Tav's voice crackled over the intercom. Captain, I'm reviewing the data from the warship. There's something else. Multiple references to a Galactic Council decision. They placed Earth's entire sector under quarantine. Everyone looked at Maria. She nodded slowly. That makes sense. The galaxy saw what we did to the Korvath and got scared. Easier to lock us away than deal with us. You don't seem angry about that, Pel observed. I understand it, Maria said. After what we did in the war, I'd be scared of us too. We crossed lines that probably shouldn't be crossed. We became monsters to fight monsters. She stood up, approaching the force field. But we're not monsters by nature. We're just very, very good at war when we need to be. Dren studied her carefully. What do you want, Maria Torres? I want to go home, she said honestly. I want to know if my family survived. I want to walk on Earth's soil again. I want to stop being a prisoner. She met his gaze. But I understand you see me as valuable cargo. Information to sell. I won't fight you on that. I'm too tired and too weak right now. The honest admission surprised them all. Yora especially seemed conflicted. You could have escaped the Korvath ship. The cell door opened easily when we arrived. Maria smiled. I know. I heard you coming hours before you found me. I chose to stay in that cell. Why? Because I needed you to find me. I needed someone to take me to a populated area where I might find information about Earth. If I'd escaped on my own, I'd just be alone on a dead ship with no way home. She sat back down. Sometimes the best strategy is letting yourself be captured. Hask's mandibles clicked in what might have been respect. Strategic thinking. You were never really our prisoner. I'm everyone's prisoner until I'm back on Earth, Maria corrected. But you're not my enemies. You're just people trying to survive, same as me. So let's help each other. Pell felt the sincerity in her words. She means it. She genuinely wants to cooperate. Dren made a decision. Fine, we're heading to Freeport Station. I'll sell information about your species there. Not you, he clarified. Just the data. Someone will pay for knowledge about Earth. Fair enough, Maria agreed. Can I ask a favor? What? Can I access your galactic databases? I want to search for any mention of Earth or other humans. I promise I won't tamper with ship systems. Dren considered, then nodded. Monitored access only. Tav will watch everything you do. Thank you. As the crew left, Pell lingered. She approached the force field cautiously. What you described, the war, the things humans did, that haunts you? Maria looked at her hands. Yes, I killed a lot of Korvath. I watched friends die. I did things I'm not proud of. But I'd do it all again to protect Earth. That's what frightens people about your species, Pell said gently. Not your weapons or tactics. Your willingness to sacrifice everything for survival. Is that so different from any other species? Yes, Pell answered honestly. Most species have limits. Lines they won't cross. Humans seem to have none when threatened. Maria thought about that. Maybe you're right. Maybe that makes us dangerous. But it also makes us loyal. We protect what's ours with everything we have. Friends, family, home. If you're with us, we'll die for you. If you're against us, we'll make sure you regret it. She looked up at the Realan with tired eyes. I don't want to be dangerous. I just want to go home. But if someone tries to stop me, they'll learn why the Korvath ran. Pell felt the absolute certainty in those words. It wasn't a boast. It was a simple fact. This exhausted, malnourished human would become a force of destruction if pushed. I believe you, Pell said quietly. Then she left Maria alone with her thoughts. Maria accessed the database terminal Tav provided. She searched for hours, finding nothing. Earth was gone from all records. Humanity erased. But she knew better. Humans didn't just disappear. They were out there somewhere, probably watching, waiting, planning. And someday she would find them again. 2 days into their journey toward Freeport Station, alarms screamed through Prophet's Edge. Dren's forearms flew across controls as 3 ships appeared on sensors, dropping out of faster-than-light travel directly in their path. Takar pirates, Yora announced, her scales shifting to combat red. 3 raiders, heavily armed. They're hailing us, Dren cursed in his native language. The Takar were notorious. They didn't just rob ships. They killed crews slowly, broadcasting the deaths as warnings to others. His salvage vessel had minimal weapons. In a straight fight, they would lose. Answer the hail, he ordered. A Takar face filled the screen. The species looked like reptiles crossed with sharks, all teeth and predatory hunger. Salvage vessel, you will shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist and we kill you slowly. Comply and we kill you quickly, choose. The communication ended before Dren could respond. That was typical Takar arrogance. They didn't negotiate because they never had to. Can we outrun them? Pell asked, her skin pale with fear. Tav checked his screens. Negative. They're faster. We have maybe 10 minutes before they overtake us. Yora loaded the few weapons they had. We can make them hurt before they take us. That just means they'll make our deaths worse, Hask said grimly. His compound eyes reflected resignation. This is how it ends. Over the intercom, Maria's voice cut through the panic. Let me help. Everyone turned toward the medical bay camera feed. Maria stood at the force field looking completely calm. Her expression was the same one she'd worn during the interrogation. Patient. Calculating. Ready? Absolutely not, Yora snapped. You're contained for a reason. You're all about to die, Maria said simply. I can prevent that. Or you can maintain your pride and let the Takar kill you. Your choice, Captain. Dren's eye stalk swiveled between his panicked crew and the human. He made a quick calculation. They were dead either way if nothing changed. What do you need? Access to your tactical displays and a communication headset. I stay in the medical bay. Hask guards me. If I try anything suspicious, he can stun me. Captain, this is insane, Yora protested. 8 minutes, Tav announced. They're closing fast, Dren decided. Hask, get her what she needs. Maria, if you betray us, you'll already be dead, so what would be the point? Maria interrupted. I need you alive. You're my ride home, remember? Minutes later, Maria studied the tactical display from inside her cell. Hask stood ready with a neural disruptor pointed at her. She ignored the weapon and focused on the data. Takar raiders, she muttered. 3 ships. Standard pack hunter formation. Probably done this hundreds of times. Her fingers traced patterns on the screen. They expect you to run or fight. We'll do neither. Explain, Dren demanded. Maria pointed to a nearby asteroid field. Go there. Full speed. Make it look like you're trying to hide. That field is dense, Tav warned. We'll have to slow down to navigate it. They'll catch us easier. Exactly. They think you're panicking, making mistakes. They'll follow eagerly. Once inside, send a distress signal on all frequencies. Make it look like your engines are failing. Yora's scales shifted to confused yellow. Why would we tell them we're helpless? Because predators are predictable, Maria said. They see weakness, they attack without thinking. The Takar will board you expecting easy prey. That's when we ambush them. We're not warriors, Pel said quietly. We can't fight Takar hand to hand. Maria smiled. You don't have to. I'll explain exactly what to do. Trust me, I fought worse. Something in her tone convinced them. Dren steered into the asteroid field, deliberately scraping against rocks, making it look like poor piloting. He broadcast a desperate distress signal that claimed engine failure. The Takar took the bait. All 3 ships followed into the asteroids, weapons ready but not firing. They wanted the crew alive for their entertainment. They're hailing again, Yora said. Don't answer. Let them think you're too panicked to respond. Maria directed Hask to specific locations around the ship. Vent atmosphere in these corridors. Not all of it, just enough to create fog. Reduces their thermal vision. How do you know Takar have thermal vision? Hask asked. Lucky guess based on their eye structure. If I'm wrong, we adjust. Now move. The lead Takar ship latched onto Prophet's Edge. Cutting tools began opening the airlock. Maria's voice remained calm over the intercom, directing each crew member to positions. She had them set up simple traps, loose panels that would create noise, emergency lighting that could be triggered to blind attackers, even food supplies that could be thrown to create distractions. This is primitive, Yora complained. Primitive works, Maria replied. The Takar expect high-tech security. They won't expect basic environmental warfare. 12 Takar pirates entered the ship. They moved confidently, weapons ready, expecting frightened prey. Instead, they found fogged corridors and silence. Maria's voice came over their communication channel, speaking perfect Takar language. Everyone on Prophet's Edge heard her through their headsets, but the Takar heard it through the ship's speakers, echoing from every direction. Takar warriors, she said in their tongue. You made a mistake today. The pirates stopped, confused. One of them snarled into his communicator. Human speech patterns detected. How does prey know our language? I learned it from another species I destroyed, Maria answered. The Korvath taught me many things before I killed them. Would you like to learn what they learned? This was psychological warfare. Maria wasn't trying to fight them physically. She was getting into their heads. Takar respected strength, feared nothing. But this strange voice speaking their language from everywhere and nowhere disoriented them. Hask. Now, Maria ordered quietly. The insectoid triggered the first trap. A panel fell behind the Takar group, creating a loud crash. They spun, firing at shadows. While they were distracted, Tav sealed a pressure door, splitting their group in half. You're separated now, Maria continued in Takar. Weak. Alone. How does it feel to be prey? The pirates were veteran raiders, but this was wrong. Their prey was hunting them. The one thing Takar couldn't handle was becoming the hunted. They started making mistakes, firing at sounds, bunching together instead of spreading out. Yora, Dar 3, Maria commanded. The Drell warrior hit the control. A door slammed shut, trapping 3 Takar in the cargo bay. Maria triggered the emergency decompression warning, though she didn't actually vent the bay. The Takar panicked, scrambling for emergency suits. Pell, your turn. The empath projected feelings of intense fear through the ship's ventilation system, using her species' natural pheromones. It affected different species differently, but in enclosed spaces it was overwhelming. The Takar began to feel the fear their victims usually felt. 2 pirates broke and ran, trying to return to their ship. Dren sealed them in the corridor and triggered the fire suppression system. Foam filled the space, blinding them. They stumbled around uselessly. The remaining 7 Takar finally regrouped in the main corridor, forming a defensive position. Their leader snarled orders demanding they focus. These were professionals, after all. They wouldn't be beaten by tricks, Hask, Maria said. Release me. What? No, the insectoid replied. They've adapted to the traps. Now I need to face them directly. Let me out or they'll figure out where I am and come for me and you'll be in the way. Hask looked at Dren through the camera. The captain's eyes stalks drooped with resignation. Do it. The force field dropped. Maria stepped out of the medical bay for the first time since boarding. She was still weak, still recovering from 3 cycles of imprisonment. But she moved with frightening purpose. She picked up a maintenance tool, a simple metal bar, and walked toward the Takar position. She didn't try to hide. She walked straight down the corridor where they could see her. A single human female, unarmed except for a bar of metal, approaching 7 armored pirates. The Takar leader laughed. You speak our language and use tricks, but you're just soft prey. We'll tear you apart and eat you while you watch. Maria stopped 10 meters away. I've heard that before. The Korvath said the same thing. Do you know where they are now? Running from legends, the Takar sneered. We don't fear stories. Good, Maria said. She charged. What happened next lasted only seconds but felt longer to those watching. Maria didn't fight with technique or grace. She fought with pure aggressive violence, using her small size to get inside their reach. The metal bar cracked scales and broke bones. When one Takar grabbed her, she used his own armor's weight against him, throwing him into his companions. She was wounded within moments, taking cuts from their claws, but she didn't slow down. If anything, being injured made her more dangerous. She fought like someone who had already accepted death and decided to take everyone with her. The Takar had never experienced this. Their victims usually froze or fled. This human attacked like a cornered animal, except with tactical thinking. She targeted joints, eyes, breathing holes. Every move had purpose even in the chaos. 2 Takar fell unconscious. 3 more retreated, suddenly realizing they were outmatched. The leader stood his ground, pride overcoming survival instinct. Maria broke his arm with the metal bar, then swept his legs. He crashed to the floor. She stood over him, bleeding from multiple wounds but still standing. Tell your people about today. Tell them humans don't make good prey. Tell them to avoid any ship I'm on. Then she collapsed. Pell rushed to her immediately, medical scanner working. She's alive. Multiple lacerations, some internal bleeding, but she'll survive. She pushed herself too far in her weakened state. Hask stared at the destroyed corridor. 7 Takar, some unconscious, others fleeing. She was nearly dead from captivity. Malnourished, weak muscles. And she did this. Dren felt something shift in his understanding. What is she at full strength? The Takar retreated to their ships and fled. They had lost too many pirates and gained only fear. As Prophet's Edge limped out of the asteroid field, the crew gathered in the medical bay where Maria was being treated. She was unconscious but stable. Pell worked carefully to close her wounds. She'll be angry when she wakes up. She lost control during the fight. It's not who she wants to be. She saved us, Yora said quietly. Her scales had shifted to respectful purple. I was wrong about her. She's dangerous, Hask agreed. But perhaps that's what we need. Dren watched the human sleep, her face finally peaceful. They had captured her thinking she was valuable information. Now he realized she was something more. She was crew. And humans apparently protected their crew with everything they had. When she wakes, Dren decided, we negotiate properly. Not as captors and prisoner, as equals. Maria woke to the smell of antiseptic and the hum of medical equipment. Her body ached everywhere, but it was different from the pain of captivity. This was the pain of muscles actually being used again. She opened her eyes to find Pell sitting nearby, monitoring her vital signs. You pushed yourself dangerously far. the Realan said softly. Her empathic abilities made her an excellent caretaker. Another few minutes and you might have caused permanent damage. But everyone survived, Maria replied. She tried to sit up, winced, and lay back down. Worth it. The Takar are telling stories about you already. Communications intercepts show them warning other pirates to avoid this ship. They're calling you the Deathworld demon? Maria laughed, then regretted it as her ribs complained. Humans aren't demons. We just don't quit when we should. The door opened and Dren entered, followed by the rest of the crew. They looked at her differently now. The fear was still there, but mixed with something else. Respect, maybe even the beginning of trust. We need to talk, Dren began. His forearms gestured awkwardly, a sign of discomfort in Saltine body language. You saved our lives. That changes things, does it? Maria asked carefully. I'm still your prisoner. Still valuable cargo you plan to sell information about. Actually, we voted, Yora said. Her scales were a cautious green. We're not selling you. We're selling information about Earth, yes, but not you personally. And we split the profits with you. Equal shares. Maria blinked in surprise. Why? Because you're crew now, Hask clicked. You fought for us. You bled for us. That means something. Pell smiled gently. Also because we're all terrified of you, and treating you as crew seems safer than treating you as cargo. Everyone laughed, even Maria. The tension broke a little. Dren moved closer to her medical bed. We're 2 days from Freeport Station. When we arrive, we sell the data, get you proper medical treatment, and then we help you search for Earth. Deal? Deal, Maria agreed. Then she paused. There's something I need to tell you. I've been accessing your systems. The room went quiet. Tav's synthetic voice carried alarm. What do you mean accessing our systems? The terminal you gave me for database searches. I used it to get deeper into your computer network. Don't worry, she added quickly. I didn't sabotage anything or steal from you. I was searching for information. That's a serious breach of trust, Yora growled. I know, and I'm sorry. But I needed to understand what happened to Earth. Your public databases showed nothing, so I went looking elsewhere. Maria met each of their eyes. I found things you need to know. Dren's eye stalks flattened with displeasure, but he gestured for her to continue. Speak. The galactic databases have been edited, professionally. Multiple references to my sector of space show up as corrupted files or redacted entries. But the deletions weren't perfect. I found fragments. She asked Pell to help her sit up, ignoring the protest from her healing body. 3 cycles ago, the Galactic Council issued an emergency order. They declared Earth's entire sector a quarantine zone. No entry, no contact, no trade. Any ship that enters is considered lost. Why would they do that? Pell asked. Fear. The Council watched humans fight the Korvath. They saw what we're capable of when threatened. So instead of risking conflict or contact, they sealed us away. Out of sight, out of mind. Hask's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. That explains why there's no record of your species. They erased you from public knowledge. Not just that, Maria continued. I found classified communications that Tav Systems accidentally copied from Freeport Station's network during your last visit. The Council has been monitoring the quarantine zone constantly. They're not just avoiding Earth, they're watching it. Watching for what? Dren asked. To see if we try to leave. To see if we expand. To see if we become a threat to the wider galaxy. Maria's expression hardened. They caged us. Tav processed this information quickly. This changes our plan. If we arrive at Freeport Station and start selling information about Earth, the Council will know immediately. They'll come for us. For you. I know, Maria said. That's why I'm telling you now. You need to decide if the money is worth the risk. The crew exchanged looks. Finally, Yora spoke. How dangerous is the Council? They're the governing body for most of known space, Maria explained. Thousands of member species. Military force that makes the Korvath look small. If they consider us a threat, we can't fight them openly. But you're considering fighting them anyway, Pell observed, feeling the determination radiating from Maria. I don't want to fight anyone, Maria said tiredly. I just want to go home. But if the Council tries to stop me, then yes, I'll fight. Dren made a decision. We sell the information as planned, but carefully. To private buyers, not Council officials. People who can keep secrets. That's even more dangerous, Hask warned. Private buyers mean criminals, information brokers, people who will use the data for their own purposes. Better than the Council capturing us all, Yora countered. They spent hours planning their approach to Freeport Station. Maria contributed her knowledge of military information control, explaining how to compartmentalize data, how to create misinformation trails, how to hide their true cargo. The crew learned that human military training included extensive education in information warfare. On Earth, information is a weapon, Maria explained. We used it against the Corvath constantly. Fake intelligence, misdirection, psychological operations. We made them paranoid, made them doubt their own sensors, made them fight shadows. Devious, Hask said with clear approval. Effective, Maria corrected. 2 days later, alarms interrupted their planning. Dren rushed to the bridge to find 3 Council enforcement vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel around them. They were surrounded before they could react. "This is Council Enforcement Division," a stern voice announced over communications. "You are harboring an Earthborn specimen in violation of quarantine protocols. Shut down your engines and prepare for boarding." Everyone looked at Maria. She stood at the doorway to the bridge, still recovering but standing straight. Her face showed no surprise. They were always going to find us. The Corvath ship probably had a beacon I didn't detect, or they tracked the energy signature of breaking me out of that containment cell. "What do we do?" Pell asked, her skin pale with fear. Before anyone could answer, the Council transmission continued. "You have 1 cycle to comply. If you resist, your ship will be destroyed. If you surrender the Earthborn peacefully, you will be released unharmed and compensated for your cooperation." "Compensated?" Maria repeated bitterly. "They're offering you money to betray me." Dren's eye stalk swiveled between the Council ships and Maria. The math was simple. 3 military vessels against his unarmed salvage ship. No chance of escape. No chance of fighting. The logical choice was obvious. "I'm sorry," Dren said quietly. "Don't be," Maria replied. She walked to the bridge exit. "I'll take an escape pod. They'll follow me. You'll be safe." "Wait," Yora said. Her scales shifted through multiple colors rapidly, a sign of internal conflict. "We said you were crew. I'm a liability now. Let me go." "We don't abandon crew," Hask stated firmly. Pell approached Maria, her empathic senses reaching out. "You expected this. You've been preparing for this moment since you woke up on this ship." Maria smiled sadly. "I've been a prisoner for 3 cycles. 1 more time won't kill me. The Council won't hurt me. They'll just lock me away somewhere secure, study me, maybe eventually try to negotiate with Earth using me as a bargaining chip. I'll survive." "That's not the point," Dren said. His forearms moved across the controls, bringing up ship diagnostics. "The point is you fought for us. You bled for us. We voted you in as crew. And I don't care if you're human or deathworld demon or whatever they call you. We don't sell out crew." "You can't fight them," Maria insisted. "No, we can't," Dren agreed. "But we can run. They're faster than us." "Not in an asteroid field, they're not." Tav plot a course into the densest part of that nearby field. "Yora, get our weapons online. They're useless, but maybe they'll think twice if we look aggressive. Hask, help Maria to the medical bay and make sure she's secured. This is going to be rough." "Captain, this is insane," Yora protested even as she followed his orders. "Probably," Dren admitted. "But you know what's more insane? Watching that human fight 7 Takar pirates while she could barely stand, then turning around and handing her over to people who want to cage her. That's not who we are." Maria felt something unexpected. Hope. These aliens, this random crew of salvagers she'd met days ago, were risking everything for her, not because she was valuable cargo, because they considered her one of them. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Thank us if we survive," Dren replied. He opened communications with the Council ships. "This is Prophet's Edge. We respectfully decline your generous offer. The being you call Earthborn is a member of my crew. She goes where we go." The Council commander's voice turned cold. "You're making a fatal mistake, Captain. Stand down immediately." "Negative. We're leaving now. You're welcome to try stopping us, but I should warn you. This human taught us a few tricks, and humans are really good at fighting when cornered." Dren cut the transmission and pushed the engines to maximum power. Prophet's Edge lurched forward, racing toward the asteroid field. The Council ships followed, but cautiously. They had sensor readings on what humans had done to the Corvath. They weren't eager to test whether a human aboard a civilian ship could actually be dangerous. That hesitation gave Prophet's Edge the head start they needed. They plunged into the asteroids. Dren's four arms dancing across controls with inspired piloting. Behind them, the council ships spread out preparing for a long chase. In the medical bay, Maria strapped herself in and watched the tactical display. She saw the council formation, saw their strategy, saw their caution, and for the first time in 3 cycles she smiled genuinely. These aliens had chosen her side, not because they had to, not because she forced them, but because they wanted to, because she was crew, and humans protected their crew. The asteroid field became their world for 3 days. Prophet's Edge twisted through gaps between tumbling rocks while council ships pursued relentlessly. Dren's four arms moved constantly, piloting with skill born of decades salvaging dangerous spaces. But even his expertise wasn't enough to lose their pursuers completely. "They're hurting us," Maria observed from the tactical station. She had recovered enough to move around, though Pell insisted she stay seated. "See how they position themselves? They're not trying to catch us directly. They're pushing us toward the field's edge. Because once we're in open space, we're done," Yora growled. Her scales flickered between combat red and exhausted gray. 3 days of constant flight had worn everyone down. "We can't run forever." Maria studied the pursuit pattern carefully. Her mind worked through the problem like she'd been trained to do during the war. Every tactical situation had a solution. You just had to find the angle no one expected. "Tav, do we still have those signal buoys from the salvage runs?" she asked. The synthetic voice responded immediately. "Yes, 12 buoys in cargo. They're meant for marking debris fields. Can you program them to mimic our ship's energy signature?" "Theoretically, yes. But why?" Tav paused as his processors worked through the implications. Deception. Exactly. We drop the buoys in a pattern, make it look like we're splitting up or doubling back. The council ships will have to investigate each signal. Buys us time. Human tactical thinking, Hask clicked approvingly. Always assume the enemy is predictable. They implemented Maria's plan. Over the next 6 hours, they carefully positioned buoys throughout the asteroid field. Each one transmitted a signal that resembled Prophet's Edge. The council ships split their forces to investigate, suddenly tracking 13 potential targets instead of 1. The confusion gave them breathing room, but Maria knew it was temporary. "They'll figure out the trick eventually. We need a better long-term plan." Pell brought her food, something vaguely resembling Earth proteins that the synthesizer had created based on Maria's biology. "You've been at that station for 18 hours. You need rest. We're being hunted. I'll rest when we're safe." "You're healing from serious injuries sustained 3 days ago," Pell insisted. Her empathic senses detected the pain Maria was hiding. "You're no good to us if you collapse." Maria wanted to argue but recognized the wisdom. Human bodies had limits, even stubborn ones. 2 hours. Wake me if anything changes." She slept fitfully, dreams mixing memories of the war with her current situation. In her dreams, she was back in her fighter cockpit dodging Korvath weapons fire. But when she looked at her target, she saw council ships instead. She woke with a start, disoriented. Yora stood nearby, having taken watch. "Bad dreams?" "Old ones," Maria replied. She checked the chronometer. She'd slept for 3 hours. "Why didn't you wake me?" "Everything's stable. The council is still sorting through our decoys." Yora sat down across from her. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "During the war with the Korvath, did you ever doubt you'd win?" Maria thought about that. Every day. The Korvath were more advanced, more experienced, had better weapons. By every logical measure, we should have lost in the first month. "But you didn't." "No, because humans have this stubborn streak. We don't accept impossible. When the Korvath destroyed our orbital defenses, we fought from the ground. When they bombed our cities, we fought from the ruins. When they killed our soldiers, civilians picked up weapons. We just kept finding new ways to fight." Yora's scales shifted thoughtfully. "Is that strength or insanity?" "Maybe both. There's a saying on Earth, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." Maria smiled. "We got hit hard. We just refused to stay down. The galaxy fears that. You understand that, right? Your refusal to accept defeat makes you unpredictable. Dangerous." "I know. That's why the Council quarantined Earth. They saw humans fight and decided we were too much of a risk." "Are they wrong?" Yora asked directly. Maria met her gaze. "I don't know. Humans can be violent, aggressive, ruthless when threatened, but we're also capable of great compassion, cooperation, creativity. We're not monsters. We're just very good survivors. Their conversation was interrupted by alarms. Tav's voice carried urgency. All crew to bridge. We have a problem. Everyone gathered quickly. The tactical display showed the council ships had regrouped. They'd figured out the decoy trick, and were now converging on Prophet's Edge's actual position from 3 directions. They're not playing anymore, Dren said grimly. They're going to force us out of the asteroid field within the hour. Maria studied the display carefully. Can you get us to that nebula? She pointed to a massive cloud formation beyond the asteroid field. The one that's interfering with sensors? Maybe if we time it perfectly. But we'll be exposed during the crossing. What's in the nebula? Hask asked. Sensor interference. They won't be able to track us as easily. And according to your database, that nebula connects to multiple jump points. We could lose them completely. Or we could get lost in there ourselves, Yora countered. That nebula has destroyed ships before. Better odds than staying here, Maria argued. Dren made the call. We go for the nebula. Everyone strap in. This is going to be rough. They timed their run perfectly, waiting until 2 council ships were investigating false signals on the far side of the field. The moment they had a clear path, Dren pushed engines to maximum. Prophet's Edge shot out of the asteroids, racing across open space toward the nebula. The remaining council ship reacted immediately, weapons firing. Energy blasts streaked past them. One shot clipped their rear shield, causing systems to flicker. Shield at 40%, Tav reported. We can't take another hit like that. Almost there, Dren said through gritted teeth. Another blast struck them, this time hitting the port engine. The ship shuddered violently. Alarms screamed about hull breaches and system failures. Engine 2 offline, Tav announced. We're losing speed. Maria watched the tactical display. The council ship was closing fast. They weren't going to make it to the nebula. In seconds, they'd be in range for a disabling shot, and then it would be over. She made a decision. Dren, vent the cargo bay. Everything non-essential. Create a debris field behind us. That's our profit from the salvage run. Would you rather have profit or your life? Dren cursed but followed her instruction. Cargo bay doors opened and everything inside was ejected into space. Salvaged equipment, spare parts, and the signal buoys all tumbled out behind them, creating a chaotic cloud of debris. The council ship had to slow down to navigate the sudden obstacle field. It gave Prophet's Edge the precious seconds they needed. They plunged into the nebula just as another energy blast carved through the space they'd occupied moments before. Inside the nebula, visibility dropped to almost nothing. Sensors struggled to penetrate the dense gases. Dren piloted by instinct and minimal readings, dodging massive gas formations and electrical storms. I can't see them anymore, Yora reported. But they can't see us either. Keep moving, Maria advised. Put as much distance as possible between us and where we entered. They'll search the perimeter first. For hours, they drifted through the nebula, running silent, letting their damaged systems cool. The crew took turns sleeping and keeping watch. Maria found herself talking with different crew members, learning their stories, sharing hers. Hask told her about his world, where survival meant constant warfare with neighboring species. We respect strength because we understand it. Humans would do well on my world. Pel shared her people's philosophy of emotional connection and empathy. We avoid violence because we feel the pain we cause. How do humans justify the violence they commit? We don't, Maria answered honestly. We carry it with us. Every soldier I knew who survived the war carried guilt, trauma, nightmares. We just decided some things were worth fighting for despite the cost. On the second day in the nebula, Tav made a discovery. I've been analyzing the data we copied from the Corvath warship. There's more here than we initially realized. Everyone gathered around his terminal. Tav displayed corrupted files he'd managed to partially restore. They showed Corvath military assessments of human tactics, psychological profiles, strategic analyses. They were terrified of you, Tav said, reading through the data. Not just afraid. Existentially terrified. Listen to this commander's log. Human warriors don't just fight to win. They fight to ensure you never threaten them again. They study your weaknesses, exploit your fears, and pursue you beyond all rational limits. They are not soldiers. They are vengeance given form. The crew absorbed this in silence. Finally, Pel spoke softly. Is that true, Maria? Is that what humans become in war? Maria thought about the battles she'd fought, the friends she'd lost, the enemies she'd killed. War brings out the worst in everyone. But yes, when you threaten what humans love, we don't just defend. We eliminate the threat permanently. The Korvath learned that. And now the Council knows it too, Dren added. That's why they're so desperate to contain you. Not just me. All of humanity. We're probably not the first species to fight effectively, but something about human warfare scares them specifically. Maria pulled up more files. Look at this. Psychological analysis of human combat motivation. They tried to understand why we wouldn't surrender even when losing. The analysis described human concepts that were difficult to translate. Honor, duty, love of homeland, protection of family. But also darker motivations. Revenge, hatred, the refusal to submit. The Korvath had concluded that humans fought with emotional intensity that made them impossible to break through normal military pressure. Your species weaponizes emotion, Yora observed. Most species try to remove emotion from combat. You embrace it. It's a double-edged sword, Maria admitted. Our emotions make us fierce fighters, but they also haunt us afterward. The war ended 3 years ago for me, but I still dream about it every night. Pell reached out and gently touched Maria's hand. Through her empathic connection, she felt the depth of Maria's trauma. The guilt, the loss, the weight of survival. You're not a monster. You're wounded. Aren't all soldiers? Maria replied quietly. On the third day, sensors detected a change in the nebula's composition. They were approaching an exit point, but so were the Council ships. They'd been systematically searching the nebula, and were now closing in on their location. We have maybe 1 hour before they find us, Tav calculated. Maria studied the navigation charts. Beyond this nebula were the jump points, gateways to other regions of space. But which one to take? We need to make a choice, Dren said. Run deeper into unknown space, try to reach Freeport Station through a different route, or head toward Earth's quarantine zone. The quarantine zone, Maria said immediately. That's where we'll find answers. That's also where the Council will expect us to go, Yora argued. True, but it's also where we might find help. From who? Hask asked. Maria smiled. From humans. If Earth survived, if they're building and preparing like I think they are, they'll be watching the quarantine boundary. They'll see us coming. That's a huge assumption, Dren said. I know my people. We don't hide. We watch, we plan, we prepare. And if there's any chance one of our own is out here, they'll come for me. The edge of the quarantine zone appeared on their sensors like a wall in space. Not a physical barrier, but a boundary marked by warning buoys and sensor platforms. Each platform transmitted the same message in 100 languages. Quarantine zone. Entry forbidden by Galactic Council order. Violators will be destroyed. Prophet's Edge limped toward that boundary on one working engine. Shields failing. Hull breached in 3 places. Behind them, 3 Council enforcement ships closed in for the final confrontation. There was nowhere left to run. They're hailing us, Yora announced. Her scales had gone pale gray with resignation. Should I answer? Dren looked at his crew. They were exhausted, frightened, but still together. Then he looked at Maria, who stood at the tactical station with that same calculating expression she always wore. Put them through. The Council commander's face appeared on screen. He was a Viridian, a species known for diplomatic skill and strategic thinking. His expression showed no anger, only tired determination. Captain Dren, this chase ends now. Cross into the quarantine zone and we will fire on your ship. Disable your engines immediately and surrender the human. And if we refuse? Dren asked. Then you die with her. Is she really worth that? You barely know this human.
She's not your species.
She's not your responsibility. Dren's eye stalks moved to look at each of his crew members. Hask's mandibles clicked in what might have been a shrug. Yora's scales flickered defiant red. Pell's empathic smile radiated calm acceptance. Tav's synthetic voice spoke quietly. We voted her in as crew, Captain. That vote stands. Dren turned back to the screen. Commander, you're right that we barely know her. But we know she fought for us when she didn't have to. We know she bled for us. We know she saved our lives. On this ship, that makes her crew. And we don't abandon crew. Not for money. Not for safety. Not for you. The commander's expression shifted to something like regret. Then you've chosen to die. I'm sorry, Captain. You seem like a decent being. But the human cannot be allowed to make contact with her people. We're firing. The transmission cut off. Immediately, all 3 Council ships locked weapons on Prophet's Edge. Energy signatures spiked as they charged their weapons for a killing shot. Maria spoke calmly. Dren, cross the boundary. Do it now. They'll shoot the moment we move. I know. Trust me, please. Something in her voice convinced him. Dren pushed their damaged engine to full power. Prophet's Edge lurched forward, crossing into the quarantine zone. Behind them, the council ships fired. Energy beams streaked toward them, multiple killing shots converging on their position. The crew braced for impact. This was it, the end. Then space itself seemed to tear open. 7 ships materialized between Prophet's Edge and the council vessels. They were unlike anything in the galactic database. Sleek, angular, covered in armor that absorbed sensor scans. They moved with impossible precision, their formation creating a perfect defensive wall. The council weapons fire struck these new ships and dissipated harmlessly against their shields. Energy levels that should have destroyed any vessel barely caused a flicker. A new voice came over communications. Female, confident, speaking English that Maria understood perfectly even as the translator struggled. This is Admiral Patricia Hayes, Earth Defense Fleet, commanding officer of the Indomitable. Council vessels, you are in violation of Earth's protected space. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately. The council commander's face reappeared, this time showing genuine shock. Impossible. The quarantine zone is empty. Our sensors showed no vessels. Your sensors show what we want them to show, the Admiral replied. We've been monitoring the situation for 3 days. You've been chasing one of our people. That ends now. On Prophet's Edge, Maria grabbed the communications console. Admiral Hayes, this is combat pilot Maria Torres, service number 77249. Requesting permission to return home. The response came with warmth that contrasted sharply with the Admiral's military tone toward the council. Permission granted, pilot. Welcome back. We've been looking for you for 3 years. Maria's legs gave out. She sat down hard, tears streaming down her face. Earth survived. Humanity endured. She was going home. The council commander tried to regain control of the situation. Human Admiral, your species is under quarantine. You have no authority to. We have every authority in our own space, Hayes interrupted. The council quarantined us without permission, without negotiation, without even bothering to ask if we wanted to be isolated. You feared what we might become. Well, look around. We became exactly what you were afraid of. We became strong. Another council ship tried to maneuver for a better position. Instantly, 2 human warships moved to intercept, weapons locked. The movement was so fast, so coordinated, that it made the council vessels look clumsy by comparison. Don't, Hayes warned. We don't want this fight. But make no mistake, we're prepared for it. 3 years ago, you sealed us away. We used that time well. We built, we planned, we prepared, and we made sure that if we ever had to break the quarantine, we'd do it on our terms. The council commander's expression shifted as he processed this. You're not asking to rejoin galactic society. You're demanding it. We're stating facts, Hayes corrected. Earth wants trade, diplomacy, cultural exchange. All the things the council supposedly represents. But we'll have it as equals. Not as specimens to be studied or threats to be contained. These aliens behind me? She gestured at Prophet's Edge. They treated one of our people with respect. Fought for her when they didn't have to. Protected her when it would have been easier to surrender her. That's the kind of people we want to build relationships with. Admiral Hayes addressed Dren directly. Captain, we've been monitoring your communications. You had multiple opportunities to trade Maria for safety or profit. Instead, you chose loyalty. Earth remembers that. Once you've delivered Maria safely to us, you'll have our friendship. And our gratitude. Dren found his voice. Does that come with protection from the council? It does. Any species that treats humans with respect and honor will find us fierce allies. The Korvath learned what happens when you attack us. We'd rather show the galaxy what happens when you befriend us. The council commander considered his options. His 3 ships were outgunned and outmaneuvered. The humans had clearly been preparing for this confrontation for years, and they weren't backing down. This isn't over, he finally said. The council will need to discuss the situation. Then discuss it, Hayes replied. We'll be here. We're not hiding anymore. Any species that wants peaceful contact with Earth can apply through diplomatic channels. Anyone who tries to force their way into our space or harm our people will face our full response. Choose wisely. The Council ships withdrew slowly, maintaining weapons lock but not firing. Once they'd retreated beyond the boundary, the human warships relaxed their defensive formation. One of them, the Indomitable, moved alongside Prophet's Edge. "Captain Dren," Hayes said, "we'll tow you to our nearest station for repairs. Free of charge. Consider it payment for keeping one of our own safe." "Appreciated," Dren managed. His mind was still processing everything that had happened. A shuttle launched from Indomitable and docked with Prophet's Edge. The airlock opened and 6 humans entered. 5 were soldiers in full combat armor. The 6th was a civilian, a doctor by his uniform markings. Maria stood to greet them. The soldiers saluted her sharply. She returned it, military discipline overriding emotion for a moment. Then the doctor stepped forward and scanned her with medical equipment. 3 years in captivity, multiple injuries, significant malnourishment, he reported. "But you're alive, pilot. That's what matters," he smiled. "Let's get you home." Maria turned to Prophet's Edge's crew. They had gathered to watch, uncertain how to process everything. She approached Dren first. "Thank you. For everything. You didn't have to help me." "Your crew," Dren replied simply. "Was crew," Maria corrected gently. "I'm going home now. But I won't forget this. None of us will." She moved to each crew member saying goodbye. Hask received a warrior's salute. Yora got a promise that humans would welcome Drell traders. Tav received technical specifications that would advance his people's computing by decades. And Pell received a long hug that communicated more than words could. "You're not a monster," Pell whispered. "Never believe that you are." "I'll try," Maria promised. As she prepared to leave with the human soldiers, Admiral Hayes's voice came over communications one more time. "Captain Dren, Earth would like to establish formal relations with your vessel. We need intermediaries who understand both human nature and galactic society, people who aren't afraid of us but respect what we're capable of." "Interested?" Dren's forearms gestured surprise. "You're offering us a job?" "A partnership. Help us navigate galactic politics. Introduce us to species who might be allies. Warn us about potential threats. In return, we offer protection, trading rights, and access to human technology on a limited basis." This crew proved they have integrity. That's rare in any species. Dren looked at his crew. They looked back with expressions of shock, excitement, and cautious hope. Finally, Yora spoke. "We'd be fools to say no." "Then we accept," Dren announced. "Though I still don't fully understand what just happened." Hayes laughed. "You got caught in the middle of humanity's reintroduction to the galaxy. It's going to be complicated. The Council fears us. Many species will too. But some will see us for what we are, survivors who are willing to be friends but refuse to be victims." Maria stepped into the human shuttle but paused at the doorway. She looked back at the crew that had saved her, protected her, accepted her. "You asked me once if humans were dangerous. The answer is yes. But we're also loyal. You stood by me when you didn't have to. Humanity won't forget that." The shuttle doors closed. Through the viewport, the crew of Prophet's Edge watched as it returned to the massive human warship. Around them, the 7 vessels of Earth's defense fleet maintained their position, a clear message to the galaxy. Humanity was no longer in hiding. Pell felt the emotions radiating from the Indomitable as clearly as if they were in the room. Pride, determination, hope, and underneath it all a warning. Humans would be friends to those who treated them fairly, but threatened them, imprisoned them, try to contain them. They would fight with everything they had. "What have we gotten ourselves into?" Hask asked quietly. "History," Tav responded. "We just became part of the story of how humanity returned to the galaxy." Dren watched the human fleet with his enhanced vision, noting every detail of their ships, their formation, their casual display of overwhelming power. He thought about Maria, the exhausted prisoner they'd found on a derelict Korvath warship. She'd been weak, wounded, seemingly helpless, until she wasn't. That was the thing about humans, Dren realized. They could be beaten down, imprisoned, hurt, but they never stopped being dangerous. They never stopped planning. They never stopped fighting. The Council had tried to cage them. Instead, they'd given humanity 3 years to prepare, and now Earth was back, stronger than before, with allies who had seen past the fear to understand what humans really were. Not monsters, not demons, just beings who protected what they loved with absolute conviction. And now somehow Prophet's Edge and its crew were part of that protection. They'd chosen to stand with a human when it mattered most. In return, humanity had chosen to stand with them. Plot a course to the coordinates Admiral Hayes provided, Dren ordered. Let's see what Earth's newest space station looks like. We have a partnership to begin. As their damaged ship limped toward human space, towed by vessels that could have destroyed entire fleets, the crew of Prophet's Edge understood they'd witnessed something historic. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had returned, not as conquered victims, not as isolated prisoners, but as equals who demanded respect and offered loyalty in return. And somewhere in the galaxy, species that heard this story would have to make a choice: befriend the humans, avoid them entirely, or risk becoming the next cautionary tale about what happens when you threaten Earth. The Korvath had made their choice. They'd run. The Council had made their choice. They'd tried containment. Prophet's Edge had made their choice. They'd chosen friendship. And in a medical bay aboard the Indomitable, Maria Torres finally allowed herself to believe what she'd hoped for 3 long years. She was going home. Earth survived. Humanity endured. They always did.